Record. Hi, everyone. This is Oph, and you are watching Simply SCAdian, No Title Required, our season 5 ending show, the special that we bring you every year. And this one is a doozy. But I'm going to hand everything over to Lucas so I can do my geek girl stuff. Take it away,
Hey,
Lucas.
everybody. Welcome to Simply Scadian, no title required. As always, it is our mission over our seasons long run now of the show to bring you people from around the SCA who don't have any title just yet. Again, we love our peers. We love our people who've done the work in the SCA, and they have a lot to say. But there are a lot of us who are very knowledgeable in various areas who should their voice should be heard. Now, that being said, as you look around the panel tonight, you may notice that that's not the case this evening. And we're going to flesh the format a little bit as we do in our last show. Instead of a single guest, we're bringing you a panel. Now, let me talk to you about this season before we get into these guests real quick. I threw a challenge out. We've talked to people all over the United States, and that's great. And that represents part of the known world. But I really wanted somebody from overseas, and it didn't happen. It didn't. It made me sad, everybody. And that's the last thing that you want is to make me sad. So come on, reach out to us over the summer. Go to the Facebook page, fill out the form, tell us who we should be talking to. Who are those people in your corner of the known world that have a special interest in anything? I mean, again, fighting, fencing, archery, all those things, yes. But we've had some of the most interesting people over the last couple of years that have been into all sorts of scholarships and whatnot. It's been a wonderful ride, and my education in the last 5 years of the SCA has just been a wonderful thing. So keep that going for people who are following the show. Keep that going, but let's see if we can get some people from overseas and see what those people are doing. But tonight we're going to talk about a very, very special thing that has happened within the SCA, and that is the historic, all right, and that's the way I've heard other people say it, the historic Rapier Crown tourney. All right. So I'm not going to expound too much on it because that's what the panel is here to talk about tonight. I'm going to introduce our very, very special guest. So first, I have the pleasure of welcoming their highnesses, all right, Donovan, Shinnock, and Chatricam Meghanta, or Mega, as she has asked to be called. And we're not using titles after this tonight. That's by special arrangement. We're going to keep it cash, everybody. So don't come at us if you're like, hey, you should be putting some respect on those names. Much respect. Our esteemed Baron of Setmore Swamp, Baron Orlando Sforza, and Master Grim the Skald is also with us tonight. All of these people had a vested interest in that tournament, and we're going to hear about their experiences and how they feel about that historic tournament tonight. So, everyone, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Who would like to start it off? I mean, maybe we want to talk about the genesis of it a little bit.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
what I
that might.
was thinking, that we could talk
Yep.
about the history of how this came to be.
Uh,
Do we want the way back history?
sure, if you want to start, go for it.
Well, way back in the day, fencers were, as we called ourselves, the redheaded stepchildren. We were not appreciated in the society, even though we really were dedicated to recreating the medieval and Renaissance martial arts. And we were doing the research, we were studying. Once Patri had published the various manuals, we started looking through Saviolo and Degrassi and all the period fencing masters and trying to break it down and emulate what they had created. And so when we started hearing that fencing shouldn't be in the SCA, and it was a fight just to get it started, but once we did get noticed and we got the Ogre implemented, that's the Order of the Golden Rapier, which was our highest award. It's a grant level award. That seemed to open doors, but we still had various sovereigns who were saying, no, I'm not down with this. If I'm king, I'm going to ban fencing. And we also heard the argument from certain people, particularly, I would say, from the chivalry, who were against fencing because they said all they do is fence and nothing more. And we looked around and we had people like Alice McIntosh, who was the herald, and we had the court herald was Thomas de Castellan, our seneschal, various people who were committed to fencing were serving the kingdom in these high-level positions. So regardless of that, it was still a struggle, and from one reign to the next, we didn't know where we'd be. So that was troubling. Eventually, we made progress, we were accepted, and then, of course, we got a peerage, which was the Order of Defense. So we now were integrated into the society as a whole, and that was a great victory. And yet there was still that barrier, and that barrier was that only heavy fighters could fight for crown. So there was a campaign, really not a campaign, more of a discussion. I will let others take over from there with what happened. And obviously, we did have it. It was a wonderful event, and it was historic. And we got 2 excellent sovereigns out of this. And so let's yeah.
We're not sovereigns yet. So
Yeah,
no, you know what I mean.
don't make us get any higher yet.
We have
So-
our witnesses ready to move up.
So yeah, I mean, while a lot of that history is true, I think I think the push to cause a crown tournament to be fought with rapiers to happen, there'd been for a few years, 5 or 6 years, I think I've been hearing, like, the topic pops up occasionally, on like some random discussion, be it online or we're sitting around with beers around the campfire or something. And if I remember right, and correct me if I'm wrong, memory is a terrible thing these days. The Kingdom of Lokak put out a request saying, hey, we want to do a different kind of crown. We want to do a crown with rapier, I think it was. And the board of directors said, no, we need more than that. And there was a meeting, a sort of meet and greet with a few members of the board at Pennsic. And someone asked the question, hey, so, like, what do you want to see? And there was some chit chat, and someone said, look, if you come out to us with like a full soup to nuts, proposal, we would absolutely consider it. And a number of us got the evil cackle hands, and as soon as the meeting was over, we all like scampered off in our different ways and said, hey, this is what they said. And I can't speak for what anyone else did or what other kingdoms may have done. But the East Kingdom, containing the combination of Boston, New York City, and Jersey, kind of collectively said, cool, bet. And folks started pushing and putting together a really, like, a serious push for it. The heirs of the East at that Pennsic were Matthias and Phelan, and they both, like, the ball started rolling with them. Serious discussions started happening, not just the like sitting around the campfire saying, hey, wouldn't it be kind of neat if polls started being taken. and open proposals were being sent out. And that's sort of where it all turns into a blur of paperwork and polls and emails to me.
Now, wasn't the first request submitted denied?
Yes.
That's
My
correct.
understanding, it was a little rudimentary. It didn't cover as much bases as the board of directors really wanted. So the East was, as Donovan said bet, and we have a number of people who are very good at drafting proposals. So
Yeah,
And,
some
and we,
folks who are grant writers basically got together and helped Matthias and Phelan
yeah,
write a proposal that sort of ticked all the boxes that they
grant
wanted.
writers, data analysts
Data
pulling together,
analysts. Yeah.
all of the data from polls saying, yeah, we actually want to see this, or sure, why not? Or right, like whatever attitude people had.
a number of entrants of Sovereign Consorts Rapier Champions versus Crown tournaments, which actually in the East actually does consistently have more people on the Rapier side.
So, is it going to happen again?
That is outside the remit.
Yes, that is the short factual answer, which is to say we do not know, and that is up to the board of directors. And I believe that they have said they will not consider another one for 2 years. They
They
won't.
have to see how this coming reign will be,
Yes.
and then they'll decide.
So yes, Donovan and I are going to be judged, right, on how well we in the East are able to pull this off. We could use all of your support if this isn't meaningful to you. But yeah, it is no one else can sort of put in a request for it until they see how this one shakes out. Does that make sense?
If I remember correctly, after we stepped down, there is a 1 year cooldown
Mhm.
on the board considering any variances to Crown Tournament in any direction. After that, who knows?
So, it seemed to me that that was a historic day, not just because it was a crown tourney with rapier rules. You like that, Grim? I remember what you told me. Um, but the amount of fighters in that tourney was insane. Has the East Kingdom had that many before in any of its crown tourneys?
A couple
Yeah,
times.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember a couple like pre-pandemic back in the day being comparable.
Oh, all right. Well, I mean, I live,
Interestingly enough,
I don't know.
It is
Rapier Champs does usually get
That many
around
people.
that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
I know some folks from Out Kingdom were a little freaked out on our behalf, and they're like, "Oh my God, how are the MOLs going to do it?" And we were just like, "That is, don't you worry, that one we got."
That is the least of our stressors.
Yeah,
Like
they knew
I
their stuff.
I did used to fight heavy, and when I fought heavy, I remember Crown Tournament usually being in the 60s. So it's not
Right.
it wasn't the same, but it was comparable.
Okay. So now I'm gonna let Lucas ask a question because I've taken over. Go ahead,
No,
Lucas.
and I was just thinking to myself, like, I'm loving this because listen, I have some questions. I feel like some of them might not be things that I mean, I'm real down the bottom. As far as my involvement with the SCA is concerned and whatnot. I say on the show sometimes I think I represent newbies still, regardless for however long I've been playing. Um, so when you say things like people are going to be watching to see if there's some kind of aberrant thing in your reign that can somehow be laid at the feet of the fact that it was decided by rapier and not by heavy. um you know I I kind of feel like from down here I'm like, it's kind of a silly thing to say. You know what I mean? Like, all we did was pick it a different way. What are those things that people could be looking for that that are a direct result of it being decided in a different fashion, or is that again? I feel like sometimes too, is that an inappropriate question to ask? We don't really want to talk about that like over the air like this. Like, what are you being watched for?
Well, I'm
That in any other
sure.
reign they wouldn't be watched for.
Well, I'm sure they're considering an abuse of power, and all I can think of is they think that the rapier sovereigns are going to R&D anyone who ever spoke out against rapier, or some petty reactionary nonsense that we know is not going to happen.
Realistically, I think anything that like harkens back to those quote unquote bad old days just isn't even on the radar anymore for anyone. Like yes, I recognize a lot of people went through that and it was crummy, but like anything that people are looking for where we might step in it I don't think has anything to do with that. Um, right. I guess on a broad level, I think some folks are just kind of waiting for they're doing it wrong. They're not doing it right. Um, you know, because I think there's a lot of assumed institutional knowledge that gets passed around, for instance, in places that I personally haven't had a connection to. I don't go into Shiv meetings, right? I don't. So any of discussions that happen there, I've never been privy to. So, like I think on a broad level, I think that's sort of where I don't want to say expecting, but like I'm figuring that's where like having to dodge a few mines will be
Right.
will be happening.
I think we have very broad support in the East. The East has really turned out to support us. Even folks who were initially against the idea um, have been uh, allowing it to wait and see, right? Basically, okay, they're here. They appear to have their act together. Let's let them do this thing. Do we have our act together, Donovan?
You,
Okay, doesn't matter.
if look, it's all role playing, right?
Oh,
Like as
right,
much
yes,
as I
okay.
look like I have my act together, no one knows that I'm panicking in the boiler room.
So I mean, I think the support has been broad, and people who I think a lot of the there was a lot of fear that this would somehow take away. Like when we were like, we'd like to have a variance for a single crown tournament, and there's a lot of fear around. You're gonna take away half my crown tournaments because it'll be heavy rapier, heavy rapier, heavy rapier, and we were like, what? That's not what we said. That's not what we said. We said we'd like to have one variance to see if it's a good idea. And change management is super hard. And the SCA, I'm not going to say that's a thing that the society can do better. It's just a traditional question at the end of this thing. But I am going to say that change management is something that we could put a little bit more work into, right? And I think that it's hard for us to change. There's tradition, and then there's like stuck in a rut. And I honor tradition, and I try to ask us to gently get out of the rut. But I think change management's hard, and I think that once people see that it's just a prince and princess, later on it'll be just a king and queen. They will do all of the other things. And the king will do all of the things that any king does who isn't a member of the chivalry himself, and the queen will do all the things that queens do. So I think it will be less scary at that point. But I think that there was a lot of anticipation of potential drama. Hasn't worked
All
out.
right. Then a shift away from the weird question. And I'd love for somebody who was not there, tell me what your experience was like at this. You know what I mean? Could you feel it? Could you feel the excitement there? What was your part? What was it like to fight in that tournament? What was it like to go through the experience? And certainly your highness is like, what was that like to know the end result and kind of enjoy that?
It,
Grim. I want Grim to talk
it,
because Sorry, Ryan. Sorry,
I,
Donovan.
No.
I'll,
It'll give
I'll
me
be
time to
abs
figure out how to say that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I had a blast. No two ways about it. That was one of the best days of my life. I had so much fun. It was actually even my birthday, so um, so yeah, no, I just had it was a delightful time. I fought very well, but that wasn't, that was my goal, my personal goal. But in the end, it was very exciting. Most of the passes were very clean. There were some issues, particularly with the slippery floor. We had to move inside because of the rain and because we all tracked water into the concrete floor. It was slick, but it was great. Absolutely delightful.
Orlando, do you want to answer that question too?
Absolutely, but I'd really just be echoing Grim. It was amazing. It was such a fantastic feeling to be a part of history, and it was the best tournament that I've been involved with in a long time. I also fenced well. I also loved watching Grim fence and the Grim versus Grim battle, Grimmer. Um, that was amazing too. But yeah, it was uh, definitely, but it was great.
Good.
I'm gonna jump in next. Sorry, Donovan. I'm trying to give you enough time to think. Um, this is the first crown tournament I've ever fought in, and I used to be a heavy list fighter, right? So this is the first crown tournament I've ever fought in. And when I put my foot in the list, and I had a rapier in my hand, and it was crown tournament, and they called late on. I'm gonna cry now. I started to tear up because it was such an honor to be able to fight in crown tournament. This is something that an entire multiple generations of fighters have, because they fight rapier, have never had a chance to do. And the heavy lift guys used to say to me, or the heavy lift fighters, no, guys, would say to me, it's different when it's fighting a crown tournament. It's different when it's fighting a crown tournament. I'm like, yeah. Oh, 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 it is. It is different when you're fighting in a crown tournament. Something about the pageantry, something about the weight of the things. For us, something about the pure joy of that particular moment. But I felt like I won that crown tournament the second my foot hit that list with a rapier in my hand. And we all won that day. And I didn't mind losing some fights.
From my end of things, it was weird, right? It was deeply weird. And a lot of this I kind of had to poke at in retrospect because, like, in the moment, I'm fighting in a tournament, and at that point, I just kind of turn off my feelings and just go fight a tournament. Um, but I remember a few months ago talking with a friend of mine who happens to be a Duke, and I remember saying, so like you're fought in Crown before, right? He was like, yeah. And I'm cool. And you fought in like Rattan champs before? And he went, yeah. And I was like, so like, does it feel different? And he looked at me and went, oh God, yeah. Like it's a whole nother thing, even though it's just like it's another tournament, but it's also not another tournament. Um, and I was like, okay, that sounds right, but I've got no context for that. And then 5 minutes in, I was like, oh no, I understand now. I get it. Um, right? Because on one level, it's a tournament. It's another tournament, right? You know the format. I know most of the people who are in it. Go out and do the work. But there's just such a like bonkers level of weight behind everything. Because of, what's on the line and what's happening, and that doesn't even take into account like, hey, buddy, this is the first time this has ever happened, and God knows what the timeline looks like. This might be the only time this has happened that you get to reasonably fight in it. Who the hell knows? No pressure. But what was really neat that I'm there was a very different attitude than a lot of other big tournaments, be it Rapier Champions or whatever else. Everyone was just so damn happy to be there,
Yeah.
right? Like, and I don't mean in a sort of generic, oh, it's an honor to just be nominated sort of way. Like everyone's had this really great mix of I'm taking this very seriously and I'm fighting my best fight and I'm going to do my best to absolutely bury you, but also it's like we were all in on this secret, like, isn't this great? Isn't this really cool that we're doing right now? This is we're fighting in a crown tournament. Holy shit. I hope I can say that on the stream. Like,
Yeah.
Like,
oh crap, this is really happening. Okay, we gotta be serious. Okay, we're fighting now. Right? Like we're all in on this this awesome cosmic joke that like this is real and this is really happening. This is neat. Right, because the thing is, I've been I was a consort a couple times in the past in a crown tournament. It was delightful and I loved it. But like this all felt different because, you start fighting in the SCA in armored combat, and like from day one, you're like, oh, you can do this and be king someday. Right? And you get good, and then you're like, I want to fight in crown tournament. And then you accidentally come too close to winning, and you're like, oh no, I could become king someday. And that had developed for people over like what, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. This developed for us over the course of like 18 months of like it suddenly being a thing. So even the day of, I think we were all just like, this is real, right? Check me on this, right? Like, is this happening? Like, I remember looking at Mega at one point and having this distinct thought, like, this is real, right? Like, this isn't just some sort of giant joke that's being poured on me, right? But I didn't say that out loud because that would have blown the moment. Right. So yeah, it was all very great and everyone was on the same page, but very surreal in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I mean, since you mentioned that, I had the same question asked me. Did it feel, you fought in the Rapier champs, and I've made it to the Sweet 16, even the quarterfinals, and it's been, wow, great feeling. But it was nothing compared to the feeling of being in Crown. And I think it's all the things that Donovan just expressed, that feeling of excitement, responsibility, all of it, just electric atmosphere, I would say. And, and I was fighting for Karis. It's one thing to salute the person for whom you fight in any tournament, and I always do. This was, I am fighting for her so that she could potentially wear the crown. If that, makes sense to you guys.
I want to add one more thing to excitement and responsibility, but I'd also add we were fighting for camaraderie because it was the whole rapier community out there, more or less. I'm sure there are people who couldn't make it, but we were basically fighting for each other while we were out there, and that was a wonderful feeling, and this right now just helped me articulate that.
Great point.
So Orlando, I'm not going to lie, I came home early from Mid-Realm Coronation because it was wet and my clothes don't fit anymore because I've lost so much weight and so my skirts were sopping. Little backstory there. So I came home and I put on some leggings and thought, well, I'll go back if I want, but then I pulled up the live stream and started watching. And the first thing I did when I saw your name was I messaged Lucas and I said, holy carp! Orlando's in the top 16. So I was really, as your friend, I was really proud of you in that moment. And Donovan, I'm sorry, I just wasn't surprised.
I'm okay with that. I'm comfortable with that. Okay, but how about that live stream though?
Oh my God, live stream's so good. So good.
Like all of the people who were doing their best NPR voice and all the work that went into that was bonkers.
Those announcers were amazing. They did an incredible job. So shout out to whoever they were because I was hoping to actually get one of them on the show, but we just didn't have time and I didn't know who they were to get them to find, to find them to get them on. But the quality of the video was great. The fighter cards that they kept running were great. I mean, all of it was just really impressive and I was glued to my phone.
Just shouting out Thorin, who's on the live chat right now. They brought that up. They said the live stream was great. They wish that that would happen more with things going forward. Yeah, we have a lot of people watching, guys. I'm trying to figure out where to get your questions in, but they haven't quite fit just yet, everybody. So if I get one that I feel like we could throw in, be patient. But yeah, we got a lot of people watching, but a lot of people have brought up the fact that that live stream was just aces, just really well done. So
It was deeply surreal to be wandering around Crown Tournament and then turn around and see a desk of people set up with their microphones and their, commentator voices on and, the headphones. And I was like, ah. But the East Kingdom Web Ministry, who are the ones who put that whole thing together, were just
Okay.
mwah, chef kiss.
Yeah, it was really perfect and it was a way for people like me in the mid realm. And no, I did not go to mid realm back to mid realm coronation because I was determined the cat got in my lap, but I was determined to see it through to the very end. So what's next? What are your goals for your reign, Donovan and Mega? Do you have any? Are you allowed to talk about them?
like how Grimm settled in for that. Like, and
Mhm.
what do we have?
I mean, yes, we have goals. Um, Beyond just make it through, mostly intact. Uh,
So one of the things that we would like to do is to improve the parts of our kingdom that need improving. Um, those are actually pretty. We don't want to go into the details because we don't have them fully fleshed out yet. But we're trying to make. I mean, any king and queen should make the kingdom better than when they got there. That should be one of their goals. And I think we are working on that. We're working on how we can do that. And it may not be very flashy.
there are some things that I think that could make a huge, huge difference in helping things run smoothly and helping things run smoothly over time that are boring administrative background things.
Yeah.
But, we have a change management person and a tech writer sitting here. So, like, yeah, that's cool. Like, I remember joking with someone that, like, oh, yeah, you should read EK Law before you fight in Crown Tourney. And I'm like, buddy, I read EK Law for fun sometimes. I'm weird.
And I'm a practicing business architect. And so I am very interested in taking my skills and applying them to the business of running the kingdom and improving that.
Like, there's definitely some game side stuff that, like, everyone wants to leave their mark on the kingdom, right? But you certainly don't want to do it just to do it. But like, yeah, we've got ideas and plans, and I don't want to be all like coy and be all like, tee hee, you'll find out when we step up. But also, it's a lot of it, like Megan just said, is like, well, this is what we want to do. We really need to figure out how to implement what we want to do in a smooth way, in a useful way.
So, but you two do have a leg up because Mega has been queen before. So, I'm assuming it makes it easier. Tell me if I'm wrong.
I'm looking at Donovan and I'm waiting for him.
Yeah, no, and I'm like, I know what I want to say, but no, I definitely want to hear what you have to say about whether or not this makes it easier.
I would say, uh, me having done it before. Well, also we have an excellent chief of staff who happens to be Count Matthias. So we've got a couple people who've sort of done it before, but mostly when as a new prince or princess, you get the big bug eyes of like, oh my God, is that normal? And I'm able to sort of like give him the yes, that's normal, that's okay, that's expected, it's cool. And I think that's the most That's really been helpful for really so far.
There,
I'm sure we'll come up with other things.
there have absolutely been moments where like something happens, and as we're walking away, I'm just like, is that normal? And she's like, no, but it is expected. Oh, that's real good to know then.
So will we see you? I don't know if all four of you are going to Penzic. I'm assuming you are. Will we see all of you at every single rapier battle that's going to be held at Penzic?
Applying
I
the
will.
pressure there, Zoph. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, like that
Oh, I'm
put us
just
on the spot. That's
curious.
super cool. I am a parent. I have children who will be there, and I have a body which occasionally makes its own wishes known. I would love to be at every rapier war point. I would love to. Reality has a way of inserting itself in very inconvenient ways.
Yeah, yeah.
I might skip the woods because it's Tuesday and that is also court, and I am Their Majesty's Crown Herald. So that's a rough day if I do the woods. But otherwise, I should be at everyone.
Okay, what does that mean to be Crown Herald? Because that's not the way it works in the Mid-Realm.
I'm basically I'm Ryukujin and Indrakshi's herald. So I'm gonna be running court at Penzic. I'm basically running court at every event I'm at. And if I'm not at the event, I have to make sure that everything's covered, and I'll send whoever is the docket.
So it
So
changes with every reign.
yeah, it changes every reign.
Ah.
So I will not be the next reign's herald. But I think they're in good hands. But yeah, so since Tuesday is court and the woods is a monster, I might skip that. We'll see.
Okay.
I would
I
love
like-
to do all the battles.
Yeah.
However, I do have baronial duties to take care of. Tuesday is our known world Baronio ANS competition, which Setmore Swan hosts. And we have artisans from all over the known world competing. And that takes up a good part of the day. There's also something known as the known world players. And my director might not let me hit every battle.
He's a
He's a-
meanie.
He's a terrible taskmaster.
Yeah, I was
He
about to
really
say,
is.
Is that
your
you,
director,
Lucas?
Orlando?
Lucas,
That
Lucas is
monster.
directing the play. So.
I'm a monster, yes.
Yes.
Oh, that's
So-
wonderful.
Oh, wait, Mega hasn't
Wait.
answered yet.
Mega has answered. Good.
I absolutely intend to be at as many of the battles as I can. I love the woods in general. The woods is my favorite battle. I'm going to have to figure out how to do the woods and also make it to court that night. So stay tuned. Changing on the road or something. We'll figure it out.
The court isn't the.
We're gonna rig something up, like we'll go through the garden hose.
Yeah.
Right, just do a quick change and then just run.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. Fine.
Yeah.
All right, Lucas, you mentioned that we had questions from the chat. Do you want to?
Yeah, actually, one of them. It's a good time to bring one of them up. I'm going to add something to this. This is from Michael Wilson on the chat. He says, "Do y'all have plans to try and spread fencing crown throughout the society?" But what I'm going to add to that, or do you all feel that the statement's been made and that the best way to kind of promote it is to now pull back from that, like what some would see as a forced evolution, I think, in some ways, that like to not keep pushing? Is it best to say now, like, let's do the reign, let's focus on our reign, on making change, on making things happen, without it always being that as the lead part of the narrative?
Do you want me to take that?
I actually had a couple specific thoughts on that. Since a friend of mine actually threw this at me a couple days ago, and I've been sitting on it, if that's okay. So right now, as you say, we have a reign in front of us, right? And that's, at least for me, like that's where my mind is. Like I'm in this moment far less concerned with changing for, however many other kingdoms are interested and doing this job well and correctly and past that, I've even before, this crown happened, like back in February, I was chatting with some folks from other kingdoms, and they were like, "Gosh, like I don't think we could do this in our kingdom. Like I don't think our rapier community is like has a big enough draw of people to really be a good pool for a crown." And I'm like, "Oh, awesome that you know that, right? Like it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be for everyone, no matter what, in every place and every time." Um, Personally, and speaking only for myself and not for the throne and not for Mega, I'm not interested in pushing this. If other places feel that this is a thing they want to pursue, I am happy to be a resource, right? But it's certainly not the place of the Prince of the East or the Crown of the East or a royal peer of the East to roll to another kingdom and say, "Hey, y'all, we did. You have to do it now too." I don't know what their rapier community is like. I don't know what their kingdom runs like. It's not my job. But if they come to me and say, "Hey, we want to do this," great. Here are my notes.
Or also here are Matthias and Phelan's notes because they have notes. They have lots of notes.
Yeah, here are our process documents. Have fun
I
with these.
I said right. Don't give away what we're planning on doing. Um, I think we need to stick the landing. I mean, basically, that we need to stick the landing. We need to do serve the kingdom and serve it well and step down and let everybody breathe. That's how we feel about it. And then let's see how it goes from there.
So if there was another rapier crown, I'm sorry, if there was another crown tournament held with rapier rules, I'll
We've
learn.
all learned something. We've all learned something here today. We have. All right.
Thank you. Thank you. Would you fight again?
Why don't we consider that after this reign is over and done with?
Why don't we talk to the other two? Why don't those two? Why don't you ask those two, Orlando and Grip? Don't
Yeah,
ask
why
us
don't,
that
yeah, do
question.
you guys want to fight in it again? Do you?
I I would certainly always step serve the kingdom in that capacity. If there were another rapier crown, I would strive for it with Karis's go ahead.
Well said.
I also would want to speak to my consort, but I would be happy to fight again.
Nice. All right, Lucas, do we have any more questions?
I mean, I'm looking here. We can go back a little bit. How did if at all, how did your training differ for this tourney than other tourneys? Grim, you're muted.
I just said Manishtana Halila Hazak. Why? How is this night different from all other nights?
I understood that reference.
I did nothing differently. I had been working to prove my game the whole previous, really since COVID, since the pandemic. I've been trying to improve my skill and add more. I hope it's showing. I don't know if it is, but I don't know.
Mega,
Nothing
you're
different.
muted. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, I was trying. I was laughing so hard. I was trying not to, overtake somebody else's screen. Um, for me, I got really sick leading up to this, and so I always felt like I was like 4 or 5 practices behind where I wanted to do. So I didn't. My training plan, I had good intentions. My training plan fell apart a little bit, and I think that rep. I think that I did as well. I did better than I've ever done in any tournament at all. I still didn't get on my pool, but I think for me, focusing on this is the end goal. We're going to get through this. We're going to get through this. It unlocked fighter headspace for me in a way that I'd never had before. So I don't know if the training that I had done sort of in order to really focus on that is the key that unlocked. Oh, when they talk about turning brain, that's what they're talking about. Ah, I get it. So my legacy from this, well, might be serving the East, but also my legacy from this is that I have so much work that I want to do now around doing more with tourney headspace. So I'm very invigorated about that. If there's another crown tournament, maybe, because it seems to me that that's where I found it. So I would want to seek that again.
Um, I know he talked about it on his own social media, but things differed for me in so much as the the bod meet and greet at Pennsic happened, and I trundled my butt back to camp, and I sat down next to one of my very best friends, Master Remy Della Montagna de Gascon, and I looked at him and said, "Hey, buddy, you want to train me for Crown Tournament?" Um, and he choked a little on his drink and went. Eventually, said a bunch of words, which kind of summarized to, "Yeah, okay, let's do this." Um, so I think my training again was informed by the idea that I had in my head that like this is your one shot at this. Like, sure, it might happen again, maybe, but like who knows when? Who knows what life will do to me between now and then? So I think it was longer, and I think it was, there was a longer training period, and there was more of a like massive kick in the butt to keep my nose to the grindstone as best you can, as best you can, not being a professional athlete that is literally paid to do push-ups, um, as delightful as that would be.
Okay. All right, we are almost out of time.
What?
So, yeah, we told you time
I
flies when you're
It is.
it's
That
chatting.
it's
went
weird.
fast.
This is good.
It's a weird
Yeah.
thing.
All right, so
Um,
it's time.
can I ask a question before we get there though?
Yeah.
And listen, we can go a little bit longer, all right? Um, how do you guys feel about like all of you feel about the fact that you're going to be held now in like legacy? You know what I mean? Like you're the first of a thing, you know. And does that carry more weight? Um, you know what I mean? Do you feel a responsibility to that, or is it just day one business as usual and just do the thing?
I think that we stand as a symbol that there can be change in the society, that there will be progress, that anyone can step up ultimately. And maybe it's not today and maybe it's not tomorrow, but you know, we do represent that. But I don't think that it's, you know, I mean, I'm proud to have been a part of it, but I don't think it puts anything special on us. Well, except for our highnesses. But
I feel a weight of responsibility. I want to, make sure that it's done correctly so that other people get the chance to do it eventually.
Yeah, I'd be lying if I said this didn't, keep me up way too late some nights. Like it's real, it's there. Yeah.
Hmm. Well,
Yeah, and I would say that everybody else who fought there will be behind their highnesses. So, at least they have our support. Yeah, they have their own people, but they have everybody else is still willing to step up. Yeah, it was a good day.
Nice. All right, now can I ask the last question?
I who could stop you at this point?
Nobody. So, um, the final question that we ask, and Grim, you missed this, but what can the SCA do better? And I'd like to just go in order, Mega, Orlando, Donovan, Grim, to give Grim time to think.
Well, I already talked about process documentation, so let's move on from there. Uh, so I think the SCA can be better, it would be better for the SCA if we continued to adopt the big tent mindset, which is to say, this is a game where you can find your own fun, doing what it is that you love to do, and everyone has a place here. We shouldn't be, unless you are a danger to other participants, we should create a place for you to come play with us. We can all learn different things together. I think, exercising, getting a little bit of tribalism out of the SCA would make the SCA better. But that's a change management journey. That's us embracing that we are a big tent and moving forward. As much as I appreciate folks who are like deep into 14th century mafia, like you guys are really cool. There needs to be room for everybody.
I have three things to add to that. One, we cannot hit them with the actually rod. As soon as they walk in, I will never forget when a dear friend of a long time was getting involved in the SCA, and he had a nice, what I thought was a great doublet that he had made. And I was so impressed that I called over a pair of baronesses and said, look, and he made this himself. And one said, oh, that's beautiful. And the other was like, it's not period. And I was like, how can you do that to somebody? How can you purposefully deflate someone? We've got to be welcoming. We've got to be encouraging. We've got to understand that everybody had their first time and their first garb, and, bring them in, encourage them, and help them. The second thing is that we've got to really entice and encourage our young people. Get more younger people in. We're an aging society. I know everyone says that, but we've got to somehow draw them in. And I think demos would be a big way to do that, which brings me to point number 3, which is we are supposed to be educational. So we really need to be doing more of the education aspect, not just for ourselves, not just A&S tourneys and papers and all that, but getting it out to the world and use that to bring in the new generation, the next generation.
Is that it? Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, cool.
To Donovan.
You had a thinky expression. I'm like, oh,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
going to go here. Yeah, Mega and Orlando definitely hit some of the things that are near and dear to my heart. What could we do better? I think we need to stop and listen more. We need to listen to people. We need to listen to marginalized people. And we need to believe them. And we need to take a lot of that into account. Yeah, and I'm just going to stop myself from just going on forever. And I'm just going to end it there.
Okay. Graham?
Say I kind of piggyback on what both their highnesses said, actually. Being a big tent encompassing everything prior to 1600 is a little bit weak, is a bit of a weakness of the SCA in that it has no focus, but it's also a great strength. And that we should, it's the place for, you want to do Indian, you want to do Southeast Asian, you want to do Native American. So long as it's pre-1600, it's fine. So I think leaning into that a little bit more and emphasizing that a little bit more is something, but we also need to create a safe space for that. And extending the idea of a safe space is also being a safe space for any people who feel marginalized, particularly by the real world. I feel very, very strongly that creating and maintaining that safety within the SCA is extremely important. And actually, I know their majesties do as well. And we have whole projects for going on for Pride Month. I'll give a little promotion for that, I guess. but they've got talks about various people in history who were not mainstream, we'll say, and things like that. But just make the big tent, but also a safe space for anybody who is doing their own thing.
Okay. Our time is
Since
up.
Grim brought that up, I
Go
do
ahead.
I do think we should push to 1650 because look at Remy. I want to see more
Good
of
with
that.
that too, actually. I've always thought 1600 is a real arbitrary cutoff.
It is totally arbitrary.
All right, you all. It's time for us to log off. Thank you so much for being our guests tonight. It has really been an honor to have the four of you on. You're four people that I admire greatly, and I'm so glad you were willing to take the time to be on the show tonight. So thank you.
Thank you.
I
Thank you
thank
for
you
having
guys so
us.
much. I mean, just for allowing me to kind of share the space. I mean, one of you I've known for, you know, almost 30 years now. I can't believe we can honestly say that. But and Grim, we've certainly interacted before. But Your Highnesses, thank you so much for allowing me to talk with you tonight. It was really a privilege. I'm gonna real quick. I just want to shout a couple people out in the chat. Not the least of which, Andra. I know if you guys want to go back and check out the chat on our Facebook page and see what some of those people were asking. Some of it didn't really fit with our conversation tonight, but again, really good points. Andrea, definitely, we're going to have them take a look at that. But everybody else, go back, look at that Facebook page, go back and go to the YouTube channel and check out things that we've done. Now we're 4 years in, right? This is the end of the fourth year, the end of the fifth year. 5 years. So again, to our Simply Skating community, again at the end of now our fifth year, thank you so much for joining us, for being a part of this, for supporting this. We are done for the summer. As always, I think it's such a hoot when people tap me on the shoulder, the Beast and the Boar, and say, "Hey, we watched that show. Are you that guy?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm that guy from that thing." So make sure you're doing that and hit us up over the summer. We'll be back in September. We'll see you then with all new guests that you will provide for us. So let us know who we should be talking to. All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks. You've been watching Simply Scadian. No title required. Have a great summer.